Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC-Mura here, and in today's video I wanted to talk about what I think are the 5 best V skills in the game and why they are that good. And this is not a nerf this video. This is not a video where I'm asking for nerfs or asking if these moves should be adjusted in any ways. I don't generally like to talk about nerfing characters, especially since we are getting a new battle mechanic, right? I think it's very dangerous to ask for characters adjustments when a new battle mechanic is getting introduced, because a new mechanic can totally mess things up. Maybe this new mechanic, Ryu will be able to be the best character in the game using it, and then you nerf someone like Sis to the ground. You never know. You really never know. So anyways, let's go back to the topic at hand and talk about the top 5 V skills. I'm gonna start with Sis because of course Sis has got to have one of the best V skills in the game, and I think it is his V skill 2. Sis V skill 2 is very strong. The reason that this V skill is very strong is of course particularly because of this follow-up. This is excellent because first of all it is completely safe on block. So when Sis does this, even if I do it as late as possible, even if I do it as close as possible, Sis is not in throw range after it. This is incredible. And look at the V gauge that Sis built when he's doing this. This is almost like 20% of a bar for free, right? There is zero risk involved in throwing this move out there. Even if your opponent neutral jump it, chances are you're gonna fly under them. You can clip them in the air, as you can see, or just fly under them and Sis will kinda go to the other side. Very rarely will you actually get punished for it, right? And on hit, the move is absolutely incredible because when this hits, Sis get a ton of corner carry. You get a ton, even from something like a crouching medium punch. Typically Sis have to do this, right? But with the V skill 2, he doesn't even have to use the meter. You can just do that. And it's very easy to buffer this. It's a very easy buffer. You get a ton of damage, and not only that, it is also really good if you just do the hit into the hands, right? You build like around 20% of a bar and you are in throw range after it, so it's absolutely incredible, as you can see. Like even for that you did a ton of corner carry and you put your opponent into the corner. Last but not least, because this is a big one, he also get to do it out of the standing light kick, which is big because now Sis can do this and get a ton of damage and corner carry out of lights. I don't know any other character in the game that can get this much corner carry out of a light attack. I honestly don't think there is. Not sure on that one, but I think it's either him or Rasheed. And this is very precious and select company. Anyway, it's an amazing V skill, absolutely ridiculous on all ways. Also very helpful of course with his V trigger, buffs his damage, buffs the corner combo damage because you get to do it into the kick follow up and then you get a heavy punch DB here. So even then your corner damage is enhanced. Absolutely very strong V skill. And now, of course, we are gonna talk about G's V skill. It wouldn't be a top 5 V skills in the game if we didn't include G's, because G's V skill 1 does everything for this character, in all honesty. First of all, it is a very easy V skill to combo into. All you need is one EX dash punch, right? You know the basic combo, you do the EX dash punch, back heavy punch, and then V skills. Very easy to combo into it, very easy to build the bar. And not only is it very easy attack to combo into, it's also a very good attack for anti-airing. So for example, if Akuma is jumping in on us, even if he jumps behind us, when you anti-air with the V skill, it will put them back in front of G. And this is very important actually, because this means that your opponent, let's say for example he's in the corner, he doesn't get to escape. And you actually can even combo a super here. So if your opponent try to escape, you're threatening a command grab, your opponent try to escape, you can actually get a super in a situation like that, right? Which is insane, like that's actually crazy good. So it's a really good attack to combo into, it's very good as an anti-air. It's also excellent at absorbing projectiles, and This is also a big part of why it's so good. Generally, when you are in the neutral, G have a built-in mechanic that forces his opponent to approach him, and that is his level up system, right? Because of the level up system, your opponent will be kinda triggered to attack G because they don't want you to back off and level up, right? So they will have to try to take some initiatives. You're gonna have to try to take some form of action, and they might try to do is they might try to throw a fireball at you, right? Let's for example here have Akuma try to throw a fireball at us. And G build almost like a quarter of a bar. I believe it is a quarter of a bar, maybe like 30% of a bar with one parry. And everyone knows that G has the best V trigger in the game. So when they are throwing projectiles at you, G is also building V-bar. So this means that they will have to engage in a footsies battle, right? They will have to engage with their normals. And G have some of the best whiff punish moves in the game. His whiff punishment is top 3 maybe in the game. Like his whiff punishes are insane. So maybe Akuma will try to do his crouching heavy punch here. Then you can get like crazy whiff punishes on him. Of course, I got crush counter, but you can easily whiff punish them. Like look at how sick the standing light kick is, right? Or like the crouching heavy punch or the whatever. And once you get that, you get to build V-bar also, and you get to continue your pressure. So it's amazing. And of course, when G himself have V-trigger, it enhances his V-trigger by so much, because even when he makes something like that is typically unsafe, he can make it plus on block. Like he's not even like safe, it's gonna be plus. Something like his flip kick, now he's in a plus situation. It's an awesome V skill. It complements the character so much. It forces his opponent to play this mid-range neutral games that G dominates. It allows him to pressure, it allows him to counter zone, it allows him to zone many of the other characters, it allows him to run his command grab mix-ups. It's such a good V skill. Of course, Laura also have one of the best V skills in the game. V skill 1 for Laura actually brings this character together. Laura is supposed to be a mix-up character, right? Her movement in general is kinda slow, even the dash is not that long. So from like full screen, you need to dash like 5 times to catch up to your opponent. V skill 1 gives Laura a mobility option. It's this command dash. She can command dash forward or backwards, right? And of course give her the overhead. What makes this V skill so good for Laura is that typically Laura doesn't have really good knockdowns. So for example, if we did her medium punch like Bolt, right? Her medium punch knockdown, right? After a dash, Laura is +1. So when you're +1, she's gonna have to do her 3 frame, which is her standing light punch, right? And if your opponent happen to block it, like let's say for example, let's go for the same sequence. After the standing light punch, Laura is just +1. So this means that off of this knockdown, Laura can't really jab and then throw. She can't really jab and then frame trap into medium, right? Your opponent, if they mash 3 frame, will be able to break out of that. It's the same issue for her, heavy punch version. This is even neutral after a dash. So typically without this resets, the reset potential that the V skill 1 gives Laura, she doesn't get much. Even if you do something like this, as you can see after a double dash she was -2, so typically she doesn't get that good of a knockdown. The meat and potatoes, the mix-ups with Laura, comes from the standing resets after the EX fireball. So after this she is +5. After this one if I do it early, she will be plus. She's +2, +3. She's a lot more plus after the standing resets, and that allows her to use her slower normals like the standing light kick or the standing medium punch for mix-ups. So now if I offer out of this EX fireball into dash, now she can do that, right? Now she can do stuff like this and get the party going. So it is an absolutely crucial V skill for the character, right? And of course it also gives her this cancel into command dash out of normal that complements her command grab game, right? Like being able to do this or like jab into command dash is really big. Any cancelable normal for Laura can be cancelled into the command dash. So it not only gives her mobility, not only does it give her enhanced Oki and standing reset, it also makes her general pressure a lot better, buffs her mobility, and of course give her the overhead, which is a crush counter. This is very good if your opponent is trying to escape, right? And it also of course benefits her in V-trigger as well. She gets to do mixes like these, of course, right? So it is a very crucial V skill. Laura doesn't really function. She's not Laura without the V skill 1. And that's why I think it is one of the better V skills in the game. Rasheed, of course, have one of the best V skills in the game also. Rasheed's V skill 1 gives him a multitude of options. If you do the V skill by itself, he will do this command jump. V skill and down will do the roll. And this works for Rasheed on so many levels. Of course, it's just simple mobility option, which is nice to have, but also allows him a way to fight against Fireball. So now from this distance, Rasheed can actually threaten against Fireball. So it gives him a counter zoning option. It is also really strong at pressure. Rasheed is defined by being able to do the whirlwind and cancel into the roll for plus frames. This is how Rasheed gets to extend his pressure, right? Maybe throw here, right? Like this is Rasheed. This is the identity of the character. And being able to cancel the whirlwind to the V skill is the biggest part of this character, right? So his entire pressure game is almost based around that, which is really strong. The V skill is also one of the better activations for V trigger 2. So when you do this, it is gonna be plus 5 on block. So then maybe you can walk forward and throw your opponent, which is really good. Even after throw, Rasheed gets actually to shake with this, which is nice. And so you can like throw your opponent backwards and then do the V skill and meaty with him. This is actually meaty. And then activate V trigger out of that. So it's really nice. It enhances his corner pressure as well. So for example, or corner damage. So if we talked about irregular counter hit combos with 1 bar, Rasheed will be doing something like this. Let's do it again. I'm crossing up, which I don't want to. So a combo like that would do 304, right? But if I happen to use my V skill 1, we're doing almost 300, so this is like 5 less damage, and you are not using any bar. Out of his crush counter, standing heavy punch, typically Rasheed doesn't get a dash into normal here. So if you try to dash forward, he's only plus 17, right? So he can't really do much here. He have to cancel the heavy punch into heavy eagle spike, right? It's about 200 damage. With V skill 1, Rasheed gets to roll and be plus 5, so he then get to do even more damage. So it enhances his damage, it enhances his pressure, it gives him a mobility option, it gives him a counter zoning option, it also gives him a kind of a throw bait option, because you can do this. Like you can knock down your opponent and use this as a throw bait, and even if they happen to block this, it's kind of safe anyways. Yeah, he's minus 17 or so, but there is so much pushback. So like I said, this V skill is character defining. It does a lot for the character. It allows Rasheed to be Rasheed, right? And that is what you want out of a V skill. And now it's time to talk about my boy Kodi. And I do think Kodi have one of the better V skills in this game. Kodi's V skill 2, in my opinion, is a fantastic V skill. If you haven't played Kodi, or if you're not really that familiar with the character, Kodi used to struggle very much versus Fireball zoning. He still struggles versus regular zoners like Minette, Poison, Dulcim, etc. But Fireball zoning used to give him a ton of issues, because he was one of the few characters who didn't have a move that went through Fireballs. And that changed with this V skill. With V skill 2, Kodi now can sway through fireballs, right? And when he do, he can punish them. Look at even the range that Kodi can punish this from. And because this is a 2-frame startup sway, you can do it very late and still be able to sway. And even if you do it early, the invincibility window is huge. Like as you can see, I'm doing it super early and I'm still being able to go through fireballs. The window is really big. What this V skill did is allowed Kodi to have the ability to fight against flowchart pressure. Typically, Street Fighter V is a very structured game. It's a game that's really by the numbers. You have to follow a very strict set of rules. But because now Kodi have a move that is 2-frame startup and is invincible, he can call out pressure. So for example, if Gil is doing a typical crouching media punch into fireball, Kodi now can check that, which is amazing. Very few characters in this game can do something like this, right? So it gives him this amazing ability to call out pressure. It also gives him a ton of abilities offensively. So for example, if Gil here is trying to do a V reversal on block, right? Typically you might try to throw your opponent, but after a medium you can't. But with this V skill, Kodi can now have an option select against offensive or against V reversals, and you get a punish, which is really good. So this enhances his offensive capability by a lot, right? It's very good. You don't get to sway and then full combo punish them, but having the ability to even get a knockdown like that is really strong, of course. And it also gives him a good ability to fight against a kind of moves that are typically reactable. So for example, if Gil is doing this sequence, I felt the timing is kind of funky and something like that, but you still can get a punish. So moves like the knees, dash punches, etc., you can sway and punish them. It also gave Kodi one of his better knockdowns. Forward heavy kick in general, this move is kind of decent, but with V skill 1 or V skill 2, you actually get a really good knockdown here. You're building V bar. On block, this is one of the better V trigger activation. Let's have Gil stop doing the V reversal. It puts you at a +9 and in a walk up into command grab range, which is very strong. And of course, if you happen to get your opponent to the corner, Kodi actually get enhanced combos with this V skill in the corner as well. So it enhances his defense, it enhances his neutral, it enhances his offense. This V skill does so much for Kodi, and he needed it bad in my opinion. And I do think it is one of the top V skills in this game. His V skill 1 is also really good in my opinion, but his V skill 2 is on a whole other level, and the skill ceiling for this V skill is very high. There is so much that you can do with this. It's truly a character defining V skill. I think Kodi's now, like Laura, like Rasheed, is gonna be defined by this V skill. And that's it for today's video. Again, this is not about calling for nerfs for any of these moves. It's just about showing why I think they are good and why all of them are honestly really fun V skills to play around with. And anyways, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. If you like the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It will help you so much. You will find the link in the description. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.